Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the To Hull and Back podcast, proudly sponsored by Old Zoological Bar in Hull. Apologies if you would normally watch this on Twitter. We're having the same problem that Tigers Talk had the other night. So, unfortunately, it's not on Twitter again. We will try and sort that out for Tigers Talk on Wednesday, if not for our episode next Sunday after the Sheffield United game. Just me and Christian tonight.
Yeah,
because
it is.
two are very ill and is occupied with other things. So you might not be you might not have as long a waffle as we get past an hour this week, because with the two of us we might not get there. Chris, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, buddy. Yeah, thanks for asking. I think we're all in the kind of same mentality, but I mean, we were just obviously talking before we came on and went live, and we were just kind of talking about how things are with respect to last year, to the start of the season, till yesterday, really, weren't we? And it's a bit of a contrast on emotions. Would be I guess the word that we're going to have to use. I guess it's going to be a massive contrast to how things are, considering where we were to how we are now. And there's positives and there's negatives, and we're going to dive into that. Obviously, we're going to have a bit of a look at yesterday, and we're going to have a look at, I guess, individual performances would be a good thing to look at as well, and talk about. I wouldn't mind talking about the manager in a bit more detail and how he managed the game yesterday as well, because I think that's something that might need to be a little bit discussed as well. So I think, we've got a bit for everybody, considering there's only the two of us. So I'm going to let you take the reins, Joe. I'm going to let you take the reins, and I'll come in with my 2 pence piece. I think that's the best way to go about it.
Well, look, I think I just want to put out there, first of all, before we get started, rest in peace, Ken Houghton. What an absolute ledge.
Yeah.
That's, I just want to get that out there early from all of us at the pod and associated with the pod. Absolute Hull City legend, and I would be very, very surprised if he was not a Hall of Fame member in the next few years. Hope all his family are doing well, and I'm not sure if we said it last week, but I'll say it having spoken to a couple of academy people today. I hope that the Beard family, after the news about Matt Beard and his sad passing last week, are all okay as well. Mark, his brother, obviously being City's under-18s manager. And look, moving on to the game, I just want to put out there early doors that this team absolutely does have potential to do things in this division. We've got the most productive player in the league still, Ollie McBurney, 4 goals, 3 assists. That's a goal contribution a game that he's averaging. Giles has still got the 3 assists, and we can score goals. We've scored 11 goals. We're the joint 5th best team for scoring goals. There's potential in this team, in this manager, in this group, because the championship this year is weak. There's no one team that I think will grab the table, no group of teams that will grab the league by the scruff of the neck and just fly. There isn't that this year. But we had to do anything. We have to tighten up the back line. Do that, and we're on to something, right? I think we can all agree there that there is something there, and it just needs a bit more fine-tuning.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Joe. I mean, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, just to reiterate what Joe just said here, but you've got to kind of understand from last season, we were conceding for fun, and we weren't scoring goals at all, which was overly concerning. And obviously, we were very lucky to stay in the league via our goal difference, though it was a negative goal difference, which again, we are currently in a negative goal difference, but that started, like I said earlier on, with Ollie McBurney, as Louise has just said. McBurney's on fire. Well, what a signing. Yeah, of course, it's a great signing. You know, he hasn't cost us a penny, but yet he's working with what Sergei is kind of bringing towards and gone on board with everybody at the club. And we're looking really good in the scoring department because we are currently like we're currently down as fifth, but the top four joint fourth with expected goals. So for Hull City to all of a sudden be in that kind of bracket of expected goals right near the top is excellent. But on the flip side,
especially when you consider how few goals we scored last season, like I don't think XG
exactly.
is a brilliant stat. I think it's pointless personally, but it's another
It does
stat
highlight
backs up the fact that we're better going forward.
exactly, and that's the one thing that we couldn't even talk about last season at all. And I think what was it already you said with respect to the 4 goals from McBurney, and you were speaking about Philogene from when we had him, and I want Philogene's total like 5 goals or something along those lines.
No, I was on about Philogene. This is just for context. This is when we're looking at how many goals whoever's got this year. McBurney's on 4, which is as many as Philogene now. Philogene ended the season on 12. Currently, McBurney, with a goal contribution a game, is going to surpass that easily.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But there's a comment that's coming in from Coxey, is because McBurney is scoring everything now, if he gets injured, there's no one else as good as him, is there?
Well, it's hard to see that at the moment, and that's, I think we're going to kind of go into that and deep dive it in a little bit more as well, because at the very beginning of when we started the show, Coxey put a comment in regarding does Sega need to take some of the blame for the subs needing fresh legs, and that was a comment I said to Joe just before we started. I felt the subs were too late. I felt legs were gone. And one of the substitutions that I thought would have made a good impact would have been Destin up front with, well, kind of taking off Gelhardt. Now, a lot of people might shoot me for saying, why did you take off Gelhardt? But looking at, with respect to Watford, they are a pacey, physical, fast team. And it was evident again on Saturday, those that watched it, you can see that that's the type of players they are. They were first to every loose ball, first to every second ball, first to every first ball, really, with respect to that second half. And it wasn't just kind of working for us in the end. So a big physical presence, and Destin kind of fits that bracket, especially with what we've seen from those very tiny little stints at the moment. So if something did happen to McBurney, I feel Destin needs to have that bit more time on the pitch now to kind of close that kind of gap of the extra striker, just in case, because he's going to need that match time. He's going to need that fitness. Sorry, everybody, I got a bit of a hiccup going then. And it's something that we need to start seeing a bit more of with respect to the substitutions, because I did feel, especially around about the 60th minute mark when Watford were changing the game up, you could see they brought on the fresh legs, and their fresh legs were way out of it.
We needed something to go in there, someone to go in there, be it a change of shape, a personnel change, whatever, just to shore it up. And we'll come back to the subs and what exactly went wrong. But while we're here, the contrast of that first and second half. Yeah. Although we were second best, I think, in the first half, what we were trying to do, to an extent, I think, was working. We were trying to win the ball back high up the pitch and then hit. That's exactly what happened for McBurney's goal. And it was spellbinding. It was so quick. So many different players were involved. That is the sort of thing that we've been crying out for. Eye-catching football, isn't it? Quick. Eye-catching.
Of course. Quick football. Yeah, quick football. Kind of get it back, play it out, go on the counter, get up the pitch and go for it, not just kind of linger about with it on the edge. And I mean, obviously the lineup was kind of hindered with obviously a new injury from Ndala that we've heard that's going to be out for a couple of games now. And that kind of changed things up a bit, I guess, in Sergei's mentality head. And it obviously,
either way,
that right side,
that game would have been perfect for Ndala to come into.
I do. Yeah, I truly do. I can't argue with that, Joe. I think that would have been a brilliant game for him to be playing on. It kind of, the scene was set for an Endala, wasn't it? Really, for the lineup and the opposition. So it was a big kind of hit in a way, because I was expecting Endala to start, and I didn't know about the injury. I don't know if anybody else knew about the injuries beforehand.
No one did.
And when you looked at the lineup and you didn't even see Endala on the bench, question marks were instantly raised by everyone. Why? And then you saw Drame on the right wing. Now, I was not against Drame playing that right wing, because one of the things I did say in chat was, watch Drame get the ball out wide, run down to the bar line, play a ball across, and let someone finish. Well, guess what? He got the ball down the side, he ran towards that bar line, he played it in, he went in. And that's a good thing about Drame. That's where his assists have come from. We saw that in the pre-season as well, in Turkey. That's how he was playing the ball when he was getting to those positions. And it was really nice for Coyle as well, because having Coyle and Drame on that side, there was a lot of work from the back on that side to come out. Now, again, yes, we are conceding goals, but I didn't really overly feel concerned on the right side defensively throughout that game. And that was the one thing I did have kind of in my head where, okay, it's not going to come from there. And I'm not going to even say any insult towards Giles, because Giles, again, getting the ball out wide, doing his crosses when he can. And again, Giles is up there with the assists bracket as well still.
Yeah.
We can't take anything away from his effort and his passion at the moment. He's rejuvenated, he's revitalized. I'm really impressed with Giles this season. Our biggest concern right now, for me, other than McBurney, is our spine, which is, it's a big thing to be concerned about. The spine of your team's meant to be the brick wall. And I'm not just saying about the two centre-backs here. I am also going to include...
Jointed, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to go all the way from the goalkeeper to the midfield and the two centre-backs. It was kind of, can Lunny and Amir still play together in the middle? Yes, I believe they can. I do. But do I feel like it's been organised right compared to how we started the season in the pre-season right now? No, I don't. And I think that they need a bit more time together. So I'm not being negative.
Let's just take like both of them in turn, shall we? I want to start because I've seen something on Twitter. A guy called Luke, who he's at Lou Orns on Twitter, LOUORNS. He did a Substack breaking down Hull City and how we play. And this is quite a good bit about the defensive setup. He put, quote, "Be polite, it's disjointed. A fairly deep line, not particularly compact, leaves so much space behind the central midfielders as the centre-backs don't jump to close the distances. Wide players easy to pull out and manipulate with simple rotations between full-backs and wingers. They don't really put much of a press on unless it's from a throw deep in the opposition third or if a long ball down the flanks is unsuccessful. They look to contain the middle of the pitch but aren't great in doing so. They've swapped between a 4-4-2 press and a weird 4-5-1 press with the attacking midfielder sometimes pressing forward to be along with the striker if the ball is played square. They've conceded the second most chances in the league when this was written and the second highest shot quality for a reason. They're leaky." And I think that's summed up perfectly well. There's no connection. And this was first noticed against Blackburn, I think. And it was sort of put down to Lundstrom was having to drop to do so many different jobs because he was trying to help Cathal McCarthy out and then do his actual job in midfield. But there is no connection between the defence and the midfield. And I think Crooks is a big part of that because he's just so industrious and so big. But also two players who were superb together last season, which we'll start with first, were so terrible yesterday. Hughes and Egan.
Yeah. Egan disappointed me with that header opportunity to clear before the goal. He just kind of let it bounce. From that point of letting that ball bounce, the goal was already conceded, especially that deep. It was, again, it is concerning. And as Luis is missing Ajayi, Yeah, we looked so much more solid. We've had Ajayi at the back. We did, and I'm not gonna point at Egan and say Egan's to blame, because I can tell you right now, Hughes is as much as to blame over the last course of the few games of
Hughes
obviously
yesterday,
conceding as well.
Although he had that goal line clearance, there were so many times. One that stands out to me in particular is when Watford had moved the ball out, and Hughes just came charging out, got it completely wrong, and then it's because Coyle's deeper. You've got Amir or Lundstrom working back, and John Egan, and Watford are all charging forward at once. That left us so exposed, and we are so lucky that something more didn't come from that. I think that's just poor defending, plain and simple. But I don't think it's just that we've missed Ajayi, because I think Egan and Hughes are better defenders than Ajayi. And I think that Egan especially will play more games for us than Ajayi this season, because
yes.
Ajayi, although he might be a decent player, we won't see him enough. He won't be fit for long enough to prove that, and we won't be able to get 40 or 30 odd games out of him. The issue comes when neither of them are performing. And Christian, why do you think we've gone from saying these two, Egan's come in, he's dislodged Alfie Jones, these two are our best centre-back pairings, to saying they've been terrible, why we need Shemi Ajayi back fit? What do you think has happened?
I'm not going to come across and saying they're terrible personally. They're not. They are. Look, they've got us out of the trouble quite a lot and quite often as well. However, I do still feel, I think we said this last season as well with Egan and Hughes, they're not comfortable playing together a lot of the time. Don't get me wrong, the good mates, they'll work together. But sometimes it just feels off, that partnership. It truly does. Is it a pace thing where Hughes is getting drawn out because he's the faster one of the two? Is he going to close down those gaps whilst Hughes is trying to cover each other? And one of the other things that we were talking about as well, with respect to both of them, is it's the strength of those individuals as well. Yes, okay, they can go in for a big crunching tackle, but a lot of the time it's a lot of pulling shirts instead of try and get through me. Now, I understand you've got those type of players which are a bit agile, like Hughes, which we all love, where he can get the ball, he can take a few steps forward, and he can play it from out the back. He can dribble a little bit more.
Yeah, he's very Harry Maguire, isn't he? In how
Harry Maguire
drive forward with the ball, like Maguire when he played for us used to love getting the ball at his feet and just run with it and drag the whole team up another 20 yards.
Exactly, and that's one of the advantages of having Hughes in the team. And he does work his socks off. So I'm never, ever going to turn around and say this is a hate thing or a negative thing. We're really not. But we are obviously conceding and leaking goals. And I don't just want to kind of point the finger at those two at the back either, because I do feel the midfield is partly to blame because of this. And what Coxie said, maybe Crooks could help solve this problem. Well, one of the things in pre-season that we noticed, and even the beginning of the season when Crooksy was playing, when he was having that kind of holding deep central midfield role, where our wing backs / fullbacks were a lot higher up the pitch in the more attacking sense. Our two centre backs parted ways to give the space, and Crooksy dropped in to make it almost a back three, and that was solid. That was a really solid back three, because you had Crooksy holding and allowed to move forward, whilst the other two were literally like the sweepers for each side of breaking down. Whilst we haven't got that now with kind of the Lunny Amir situation, because they're both kind of just still sitting in front. And we said this, especially about the second half, the tracking of runners from Watford. Once we did one thing, or once the ball was played, there wasn't enough tracking from our central midfield, which overloaded our defence a lot of the time. It's completely different. I mean, our defence, as Louis said, our defence was spot on last season, and we couldn't score goals, and now it's completely the opposite. Yeah, we can definitely score goals, but we've had a massive shift in formation, style, players. It's a completely different defensive line. It's something that's still going to need a lot of work on. Now, what's going to fix it? Is it going to be another player? Is it going to be a Jai? Is it going to be a tactical thing? Until Sergei figures this out, I, as a fan on the sidelines, usually we know everything. We have the answers to everything, guys. We're fans. We always know better. I haven't got a clue. This is something for Sergei to kind of definitely work out and fix. And with respect to us being the most likely to concede in the league at the moment, it's something we need to fix soon. Our saving grace is that we can score and we're expected to score, which is excellent.
The saving grace is Ollie McBurney.
Yeah.
I said it at the top of the show, didn't I? That this team has potential if we tighten up the back line. Having said all of this, before we move on to discuss what's going wrong with the midfield, Coxie puts maybe Akin Famowo should get a chance. Should we switch it up and go to a 3? Giles and either Coyle or Drama as wing-backs in a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2. What do you think?
I would like that. I mean, I was calling that for last season, 3 at the back. And I was. And the 2 up top. Because the 2 up top, it's a weird thing nowadays, isn't it? Where the 2 up top kind of culture's gone out the window. It doesn't exist anymore. But then when you come against the teams that do have the 2 up top, they're the teams that you struggle against the most. And it's really a strange one. But the 3 at the back, with how Hull City are, and I know we might not have these type of players, but we do have Femwo. And we do have, I know Coyle's obviously a fullback, but if you played him in that kind of back line as well, Coyle,
as
got another player as a centre to half. You kind of have that centre half that knows how to spread out and play the width and play that kind of side. You would have Hughes more on the left side of what he likes, the kind of comfortable side that he is there, and it can stretch up. And then that leaves Egan to just sit in the middle as well, which would be something that would be nice. And as Louis said, the good thing about Sergei, he will change things if needed. Yeah, he will, but he also has his own philosophy that he would like to try and stick to as well. He's not saying that it's the all and be all, because obviously he'll adapt to the players that he's got. The one thing is, will he try and fix the problem with respect to what he's seeing now by coaching it, which obviously he's going to coach it, but he's going to try and coach the issue out. But then what's been sacrificed by coaching the more defensive side of things to shore it up, what you're going to lose from the attacking sense. It's a fine balance when it comes to coaching, fixing one thing and losing something at the other end.
Fixing one thing mean you have to sacrifice something else. Let's have a look at the midfield then, because I thought Hadjiametovic was class again. I think Lundstrom, unpopular opinion, I think, bar the second half against Southampton, I think since Bristol City, he has been...
Even Oxford, yeah.
Nah, he was all right against Oxford. See, after the Blackburn game, when the whole team struggled, from that point, he's been terrible by the second half against Southampton. And one thing that frustrates me is the stupid bookings. It should never have been a booking, yes, because he got the ball. And that's poor refereeing. The referees are poor in this division. Shock horror. We've been there. We've seen it. We've done that. But he was
very proactive on the whistle, wasn't he, this week, the ref? He was very proactive. Sorry.
But Lundstrom has to stop just being so reckless and making the referee make a decision, especially so early on in games, because that limits what he can do. And I know he's one of them players that you probably can't drop, but do you? If it means you can bring in Crooks alongside Hadjiametovic when he's back fit, JB, Slater, is that the one you drop for when Matazo's back fit? And why is there such a disconnect between the centre halves, the defence, and the midfield? And why has that suddenly opened up once Matt Crooks has got injured? Talk to me, Chris. And leave your thoughts in the comments as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is a question and a half, isn't it? Why is it totally... And it's... How do you answer that? How do you answer that? The only thing that you can say, and I'm not... Look, I'm not one of those against Lunny, because Lunny, you can tell, works hard. He cares.
Oh, yeah.
He always will. He'll do everything for his teammates. He'll do everything for his team.
He's a good player. He's got very high standards. He's good to have in the dressing room.
Exactly. So this is not against Lunny in that respect, but he was blowing after 60 minutes. He was definitely blowing. And he was a player that I was saying probably needed to be subbed. Well, not probably. I actually was screaming, get him off, to be fair, at the TV. Get him off, it's done. Get him off. Which is just something that I guess the game needed. But how do we fix this at the moment? Again, you're asking that impossible question of what's changed? How has it gone so different? Is it because, like we say, Crooks, he ain't there? He's still out for a little bit. Is it? I don't know. I don't have the answer for you, Joe. And I don't think any fan will have that answer at the moment. It's one of those things where we can't individually point that one individual player is an issue. I don't see it as Lunny being the issue. I just feel that at the moment, with the way they're playing, with those kind of way we're playing at the moment, defensively, to go into the attack, they're just not linking up, fixing things right. Is it? Do you know what? There was a spell in the first half, just before we got the goal, when we had the ball, just before Watford were kind of trying to get at us, and we were trying to play it nice, let's call it nicely, keep possession, get up the pitch, try and do a switch now and then, go to the back line, go to the other side. And I saw an opportunity from the defence that kind of opened up to play it to, I think it actually was Lunny. And all Lunny had to do was just open his body and play one more pass out wide. And that was it. We were in. We were in. It was compact. The game was over on the left side of the pitch. And it's those type of little things that we're not doing at the moment, where we're trying to still play it a bit safe. I feel that we're still a bit nervous and afraid of messing up because of the amount that we have conceded. And because you're playing because you're afraid of how much you conceded, those little risks to get it away from your box and play like that, and the awareness to do that, might be one of our little downfalls for this season. Because Watford did it a million times, where they played it into the middle, and the player opened up, played it out wide, and we were having to scramble back.
We were at sixes and sevens.
We were at 6 sevens, and we were struggling to keep up with the off-the-ball runners of theirs, and we weren't tracking and picking up their plays as we should have, because, again, like I say, we're at 6s and 7s. So seeing Watford do it against us, and we had the opportunity to go against them, that's something that I believe that we need to kind of work on, is the off-the-ball situation and the awareness when we're on the ball. But will bringing in a new player fix that?
Well,
I don't know.
That's
Matazo, maybe, but that's January. That's January, February. That's January, February before he's starting games.
But on a slightly more positive note, just looking back at that first half, we could have been home and dry, and that changes everything. Like the chances that come, most in my mind are the one that Cody Drama had and the one that Kyle Joseph had. We could have been a couple up.
Yeah.
And we didn't take them, and thus we were made to pay for it. I think just a quick word on Watford, because like the second half, they were so much better than we were. Imran Loser and Kayembe, they ran that game. They absolutely ran that game. Thought Petri on that right hand side, as a sort of wing back, overlapping. I thought he was really, really busy. He was really effective, and Iran Kunda handful, caused problems. Semedo the same, although I think Iran Kunda is the better player. And what changed at half time for me was I think they went out and showed that they were willing to play for their manager. And when he's up against the sack, that's big for him and for that team. Anyway,
Confidence for the team as well. Confidence for Watford for getting a result against us and coming out at the second half and showing that is a confidence building for Watford. So I mean, look, well done to them. Watford, as coaches put, we never beat Watford, even though they're awful form. Yeah, they've been on bad form, but they're not an awful team. They're not an awful team. Like, they've got quality in that team. They're a cemented championship team.
They've still got Georgi Chakvetadze to come back from injury, who's a brilliant player. We've not won there since 2012 down at Vicarage Road when David Myler and Robbie Brady scored and Troy Deeney scored a last-minute consolation goal.
I remember that game.
So I think we just have to go down there, and if we get a point, it's fine, because that truly is a bogey ground for us. But that doesn't change the fact that after 60 minutes, when we've been up against it, and then, the pressure, Watford kept the foot down, they kept turning up the wick. Sergei got everything about his substitutions all wrong. And we've touched on it earlier. We'll come back to it and look at it in detail now. So the subs, he didn't make any changes until the 73rd minute, I believe it was, when it was when Darko JB and Regan Slater replaced Amir Hadjiahmetovic and Joe Galhart. Then 11 minutes later, Palmer and Akinola came on in place of Lundstrom and Drama. And then in the 88th minute, Enis Destan came on for Kyle Joseph. For me, there's a couple of things. Firstly, the timing of all of those subs was awful. You touched on it earlier, Chris. It was shambolic.
Yeah, it was bad.
You could see from 60, 65 minutes that something needed to be done and nothing was being done. It was a game that, as I said earlier, it was crying out for an Ndala, I thought, and he'd have been the perfect player to bring into that game on 65 minutes. The timing was all wrong. I wouldn't have brought Amir Hadjiahmetovic off because I thought he was one of few who was playing well. Akintola was absolutely shite when he came on.
It was awful.
He was terrible.
Awful.
Casey Palmer, I cannot remember him touching the ball, but to be fair, he was shoved out on the wing, which isn't where he's played at all. And then JB and Slater just couldn't get in the game. Regan's cameos, as in recent weeks, they've been great, and JB really grew into the game. JB really grew into the game against Southampton, but they were both just largely ineffectual. They couldn't get into the game at all. And then Destan, what can you do in 2 minutes? Plus stoppage time when we're under the cosh, as it is. Anything I've missed, Chris?
No, look, with respect to the substitutions, obviously you've just stated, when our first substitution was. I agree. Completely, I don't want to say unforgivable, but surely you must have noticed where it was. Everybody noticed beforehand. And it was the sequence of substitutions and who we substituted for me, which was just totally made zero sense. I mean, if I was going to do any substitutions, it would have been on the 60th minute and I don't want to get shot from people. Again, I think I've said this earlier, but Joe Gelhardt, I would have actually pushed out probably more on the wide side or sub.
Yeah.
And it would have either been Gelhardt and Drame off to bring on Destan, because Destan needs more time. And he just looks a threat when he comes on. Yeah, he looks a handful. So bring him on, get him in early. If you've just conceded a goal, especially, get him on. You want someone up there to go, hey, what we're dealing with here, because this is not a small guy. And then after that, as we've said about with respect to Amir that he took off, personally it should have been Lunny, and I would have brought on Darko.
Wrong midfielder, didn't he?
Yeah, wrong midfielder, and it would have been for me. Darko would have come on for Lunny to start with. That kind of small change to start with would have been something that would have been needed. Now, Paul's just would have brought Miller and given him a run out. I don't believe Watford is the best game to bring Miller on. Not in that game.
If we were 2-3-0 up with 10 minutes to go, with 10-15 minutes to go, that's when you bring Liam Miller on. In a game like that, when you're up against it, it's physical, there's a lot going on. That's not the game. That's not the situation you give Liam Miller a run out in. Equally, same with against Blackburn when we brought on Brandon Williams and Mo Balumi. The game was done. It was 3-0. We'd lost that game. That was the right time to give those 2 minutes because, it was
already over. It was already done, wasn't it?
The game was done. When it's a physical encounter like that, you cannot give someone fresh from an ACL injury minutes. And although Akinola was poor, Coxie, you can't afford to take that risk.
Yeah. I'd rather have a full fit Miller. I mean, Akinola, when he came on, look, I'm a defender of Akinola usually to everybody. I really am. I do think he has a little bit something skillful wise, but what I saw on Saturday was, what were you doing? Like some of the ideas that you had.
Like I said,
there was no awareness.
He's so raw, despite being 29 years old and having such a vast wealth of experience to draw on. Like he shares a birthday with me. He's 30. He's 30 in January, and I've never seen a player be so raw, despite being 30 years old. It's
got the skills. He's got the skills, but it's like he hasn't got the awareness of what he's doing once he's got the ball. As you say, raw. And I was just questioning some of the things he was doing when he got it, because he got the ball in some opportunities where I thought either get at him or just play a quick give and go. And instead he started trying to go on the outside, or it was a really, really crazy sort of touch lay off to someone who wasn't even a Hull City player. And I was like, what are you doing?
What are you doing, mate?
Yeah, what are you doing? So, yes, Louise and Dala's got a bit of a foot injury, by the sounds of it, or an ankle injury, but the rumour is it's a couple of weeks.
It's the bottom. Yeah, it's the bottom of his foot. The international break is after Sheffield United, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
I think he'll be back after the international break, but he's going to miss at least the next 2, and then he's going to stay with City throughout the international break, and they'll monitor him.
Luckily, a lot of injuries are after the international break, actually, aren't they? We're going to get a lot of people back after that. Obviously, Mo's going to be out a little bit longer.
Yeah. Crooks, Ajay, Miller will be just about there. I'd imagine the 21s during the international break, they play once at home during the international break. I've not got the away fixtures up in front of me, but I will do. I think they will play a second time. I'd be looking to get Miller minutes in those games, personally. So during that international break, they've got Bournemouth away. They've got Coventry away, Bournemouth away, and Crewe at home. I'd be getting Miller involved in Coventry and Crewe. Bournemouth, it's a Friday, it's 7 p.m. It's away. Yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't do that. But you've got the Coventry away game is at Coventry Stadium. The Crew game is at the MKM. You've not got the concerns about the pitch that Sergei has at Bishop Burton and other similar places where other 21s teams play. You've got 2 games there on first team pitches in championship stadiums. I think you've got to chuck him in for those 2 games. You've got to. There's a week between them. Surely that happens. That's the logical.
Look what's just popped up on my phone.
Nice little reminder.
Reminder a few days early, like.
Final thing on subs. This isn't territory I'd normally go in, but fuck it. Akinola or Abu Kamara, Christian? Early days, I know.
I tell you, you threw that one at me.
I know.
I was not a guys. For those of you that watch the show on a regular basis, you understand my frustrations with
I'm
Abu.
not normally the one who chucks that out.
And Abu, personally for me, does my nutting. And it's not a case of that he isn't, again, with the skill, but he is another, what you would call the raw awareness.
Yeah.
It's very teenager-like in the way he plays still. And do you know what? I've been trying to see how well he's been doing at Getafe. And obviously he had his little Barcelona. Yeah, he came on at Barca. And I think he touched the ball twice and lost it both times.
Barcelona, though, come on.
Yeah, but you should be able to receive a pass and just pass it back and do a 1-2. I don't even think that happened. I prefer Akinola to Kamara. However, if Akinola doesn't sort out his kind of awareness on the pitch,
if Akinola doesn't sort out whatever that was on Saturday,
yes, yeah, if he doesn't fix what that was on Saturday, then Kamara will be overtaking. It's just after a season of Kamara and frustration of watching him. Don't get me wrong, the Leeds game, his redemption little thing for a couple of weeks was great. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And he did really well. He kind of proved a lot of people wrong though what abilities he has and what he can do. But he's still kind of rolled back into that shell again. And he does leave his fellow right-sided player fullback kind of exposed. And that's been one of his biggest problems. Now in pre-season, he actually did start picking up some of the runners a bit more until he gets tired, and then he just stops doing it altogether, and he just walks around the pitch, which is just out at his age. How can you be tired after 20 minutes? It's well, obviously we all know that it's a physical game and it's a lot of running and a lot of movement. Trust me, we all understand that, but it's not like he's sprinting 24/7 is Kamara. So for me at the moment, I would still give Akinola his attempts because we haven't seen enough of him. But Kamara, we know, we've seen, we've judged, we've had a season of Kamara. So Akinola still deserves his little bit of a chance to get it right, a bit more of learning the system. Because again, he came in later. You know, he's still new. So I'm going to give him his chances. But if he doesn't kind of resolve this awareness issue anytime soon, no matter your amount of skill isn't going to help you if you're completely useless on the pitch.
Listen, I think it's worth noting as well that if it were up to Sergei, he would still have Abu Kamara at the club. Kamara was moved out because we could get other wingers in. We had other wingers coming back and we needed space to sign other players. I think Coxey gets it right for me. so far it's Kamara in that debate, but time will, of course, tell. Right then. So, looking ahead to Preston, what changes would we make? For me, I'd stick Gelhardt out on the right, and in an attempt to shore up the midfield, that would mean Drama dropping out, Gelhardt moving right, and Darko JB coming in the middle. Someone a bit taller, getting his first start, and trying to have, like, seeing if having an actual midfielder in that 10 goes some way to trying to shoring up that disconnect between midfield and attack if he drops deeper, etc. There is obviously, could we bring someone in on the left wing? No, not at the minute, because then Darla's injured. Miller, you still can't start, although I think he probably will play. Kyle Joseph, that left wing spot is his. And other than that, I think that's the only changes that will really be considered.
You see, with Darko, when he came on at, was it Southampton, and we had him a bit higher up. Yeah, and we had him a bit higher up that pitch in that kind of attacking cami role. I was seriously not convinced. He looked really lost to me. Like, literally had no clue where he was going, who was passed to.
I do see that.
And when he was played deeper, he looked like a totally different player. He looked like someone who could get the ball off, that confidence to bring it up a bit more, give himself. I think it settled his head a bit more to have that time of being able to run up the pitch and have a few more glimpses to see where people are. And he was able to commit those passes and continue his runs forward. Because I noticed that a few times, actually, every time he's come on and had a bit of a cameo. He can do that bit of a 1-2, keep running up the pitch. He likes that a lot. He does like that movement of travelling up. So I do feel if you are going to bring a Darko on, he would have to start in the deeper role. But I don't think against Preston we can afford to take that risk in that position right now, in that deeper role. I think we are kind of stuck with the Lundstrom and Amir kind of two partnerships for now.
Well, I've banged on about this podcast about how crap Lundstrom's been by the second half against Southampton, obviously, but I don't see him being dropped. And who would you bring in that deep role with Crooks injured? Who would?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, I would like to see Darko come in for Lunny, but I just don't think it's the right. You can't just go right, Lunny, you're off, and it's not the right thing to do. It's not his natural position
either, is it?
It's not. It's not. So I would get it if it was a sub. I would totally understand it if it was a sub, because you would have Amir sitting in and dropping in, just sitting in front of the two centre backs, Hughes and Egan, and then you would have Darko kind of running around a bit more. I agree, Gelhardt needs to go out on the right for now. I do think that's probably one of the right type of things. I think Destan really needs that start. I do truly think he needs that start, and that kind of sitting just behind McBurney, kind of the cam centre forward role, would make us a heck of a lot more attacking. But then we are missing that link up gap between obviously the strikers. Look, we were talking about this when we go three at the back. Do we try it? Will we ever try it? Will we ever see it? I mean, putting two up the front, having Hughes, Destan up there, go solid three at the back of the players that we know that could do that pretty well, and crowd out that midfield. That way you could have your Darko, your Lundstrom, and Amir there. It shows up the midfield a little bit. It definitely does show up that midfield. It allows the wingers still to be there, because that's how we're playing. It allows Coyle and Hughes to take that step forward. Even though it's three at the back, you've still got your two centre-backs how you would kind of technically play if one of them stepped up. And you've got an extra man up top. I don't know. I would like to see, I would personally like to see Destan get a start now. I think he's going to be something special linking up with McBurney. We've seen McBurney do the headers and bring him in and win the battles and drop them down onto the ground for Lunny's little kind of play. He's done that many a time for everybody else who's running the box. How about we have two players that can do the exact same thing, but to each other? It's a good thought to have. But are we ever going to be able to see that?
That's the question. And we said earlier that two up top has, died. But if you're starting Gelhardt on the right, Destan in the 10, Joseph on the left and McBurney up front, that is 4 strikers all on the pitch at once. Have we ever had the capability to do that? I don't think
I know
so.
It sounds like a good time, doesn't it? Sounds like a good time for me.
Right. Predictions then. With the predictions league from this season, it hasn't changed this week and is still top. The 1-1 bot, Will and Chris are all still tied, and Nathaniel and me are joint bottom. That still says match day 6 on it because we haven't had a new graphic because no one got any points. And just a refresher of the rules. If you don't turn up to an episode or send your predictions in, by the time the episode starts, you are automatically given 3-0 City. So, in the absence of Will, Nathaniel, and Ant, Will has sent me his prediction, which is 1-0 City. He's also sent me his prediction for Sheffield United as well, which is 3-2 to City. I think that was what it read, but I will just check. 3-2. 3-2 City against Sheffield United, but we'll put the predictions on socials for that so there is a record of them. So Will said 1-0 against Preston. Nathaniel has seriously gone for 3-0. And I will have one last check of the group chat.
Give him the chance.
Ant has seen the message to send a prediction in, but has failed to do so. So Ant, as a punishment, has been given 3-0 City. Chris, what are you thinking?
I don't want to come across as Mr. Negative here, everybody.
3-0 City.
No. I'm still very concerned with respect to conceding. Even though we are at home at the moment, which seems to be a really nice place for us to be scoring goals. Who thought I would have said that a year ago?
How the forms have flipped, by the way. How crap we've been at home for ages. But now, we've won games at home. We've got 2 wins in 13 away from home, none in 7.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? Now, Louise, unfortunately, I'm not...
Or home games, but I didn't think we'd go to this issue of not winning away.
That's it. I mean, guys, everybody who's watching right now on a platform, so obviously we want to see what you guys are thinking as well. Now, Louise has gone for 1-1. Now, unfortunately, we're not allowed to go for 1-1, but I am allowed to go for 2-2. So, but I have the confidence that we will score the goals, as stats and evidence has been. Hull scoring at the moment is not an issue, but leaking is. So I'm going to go 2-2, Joe.
Okay. All right. Fair prediction. We've got one in chat here. Louise 1-1. Just another sorry for Twitter not working, and we will get that sorted. So if you've missed this pod, watching it live and you're watching it on repeat on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, you know, we apologize.
Still comment though, because I can tell you now, everybody, that I still read them and want to see where you guys are thinking that we're going to be doing at the moment. So obviously, like, subscribe, and obviously comment, because I want to see what your predictions are. I still look at it every day.
Still want to see what you say and whether you agree with what we say or not. If you want to tell us that we're waffling, then feel free to do so. Ultimately,
I get told that all the time. So yeah,
It is what it is. My prediction then, I'm holding out some hope with it being at home, and I'm going to match what Ollie Harsley has put in chat there, 2-1 to City.
good.
Hopefully.
I like the positivity.
Please. Look, Preston, they're
doing all right.
Lads are injured for starters. Will Keane could be back, possibly. I think he's going to come slightly too soon, but Robbie Brady is out for the long term. They've had a good start. They're in the playoffs at the minute, even though it's early doors. They've only lost once. They've won 3 and drawn 3. How many goals have they shipped?
7-4.
Only 5.
7-4. And 5 against. Yeah.
Did 5.
Yeah.
Compared to our 14. Is that's the joint best defense in the league, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, with Borough and Stoke. And Charlton.
Yeah, Borough, Stoke, and Charlton.
Yeah.
So, yeah, come on, 2-1. Sheffield United predictions will put them public at some point.
5-0.
So there is a record of them. They got a win at the weekend, didn't they? Jesus.
They did. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much for watching, listening. Anyone who's commented in live on the 2 platforms where it's actually worked. We appreciate you. And we are once again very, very sorry. Any final thoughts, Chris?
Other than obviously up the Tigers, but yeah, hopefully everyone on Tuesday night, wrap up warm. Let's get behind everybody. Let's get behind the lads. The manager. We're enjoying the MKM at the moment. May it continue, and let's hope it really, really, really does have that kind of win mentality. So let's get behind the lads on Tuesday. So thanks, everyone.
Couldn't agree more. Nathaniel will forever be gloating in the fact he predicted McBurney to be our top scorer when he hadn't even signed. I hope you're feeling better soon, mate. He's not on holiday this week. Him and Will have just been struck down by some sort of illness, and neither of them, well, they can hardly speak, the pair of them. So that's not very good for a podcast, is it? Thank you for watching, listening, like, subscribe, follow, share, do all that good stuff. I don't know whatever the buttons are and all the different ones, but do whatever the button is to keep you tuned in with what we're putting out. If you enjoy our stuff, then click that one. Up them Tigers. Hasta la vista. Ta-ra.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
guys. Take care.